ونبدأ الآن.
And right now we will start again. I will leave you with the administrator of this panel, the acting deputy, and the first of all, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our symposium today's title is The Scourge of Fake Academic Degrees, and as you all know, it is an important matter and it is related to the accreditation process in all fields. This matter has been adopted by His Excellency Professor Jamal Sanad al-Suwaidi, the Director General in the Emirates Center for Strategic Studies and Research. This topic is not easy to tackle. It does not therefore need us to write scholars. It is known for everyone in social media. We have witnessed it red-handedly maybe, and I would like to quote from His Excellency the Professor, a paper published back in September, and it talks about this topic. Yes, we are telling it a scourge, and as Dr. Khamis said, it's a cancer. In 2018, Dubai's criminal court have investigated with an Asian lady that practiced medicine with a fake certificate. This was not enough for her. She used to promote for herself as the doctor of celebrities. In 2018, also in Dubai, we were shocked with a great number of fake certificates. In addition, there are many officials and many prominent, distinguished individuals and employees have held fake certificates. The same happens in Bahrain. In Bahrain, they've talked a lot about the faking certificates from shell universities. In Saudi Arabia as well, the media in many occasions last year talked about faking medicine engineer. In 2014, the engineers bar discovered 30,000 fake engineering certificates. Your Excellency, Professor, those are scary numbers. The floor is yours. God may help me then.
بسم الله الرحمن.
Peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. It is really tough for me to talk before this great audience interested in certificates. This topic is general, it's big. We have seen it all over the Gulf countries. We've discovered that there is a criminal activity in this topic. I am one of those who have discovered this problem a bit late. In my practical life, I was away from it, but when I entered banking field, I've witnessed some, but I did not know that it is widespread. When I became at the Shura Council in the very first session, for me in the Shura Council, I read a report issued from the higher education talking about strange academic degrees entering the country and we need to revise them. So I brought back a memory from the 80s when I was a student in university. My professor then gave me a small book called Diploma Disease. It's a beautiful book, talks about qualifications and the increasing number of certificates in Australia, South Africa, etc. I've read that book and I give it back to that man. It's all him that we suffer from illiteracy, no problem with degrees. He said, keep it with you, you might need it. Indeed, this what happened. Couple of days ago I opened that book and I read it again. I entered the internet. I found too many articles speaking about this problem. I will not talk in particular about the fake certificates, but I will talk about a field which is about the equivalency of certificates. Faking documents is something unnegotiable. In each country, they have a law about any fake document, regardless if it's an academic degree or not. It might be a note bank, might be a birth certificate, or anything else. So today I will speak about 4 cases or 4 issues. We have the certificates not able to be equalized, the spread of those certificates, and how to protect ourselves from the certificates that are not able to be equalized, and to fight or counterfight those certificates, how to stand against them and how to deal with them. And last, we will talk about the Gulf countries' efforts to fight the unable to be equalized sort of certificates. First, the unequalized certificates. We have multiple. We have the shell certificates. Those shell certificates, they are fake certificates issued from non-existing universities. Usually the whole university is an apartment in some certain building, and this small apartment issues thousands of certificates, and some of them here in the Gulf countries. Some of those certificates even those holders of those certificates in Kuwait, they participated about them. They threw a party about holding a fake certificate. Music and dancing, etc. But in the end, it's shell. When this type of certificate entered the GCC, it came to the GCC in the 80s, late 80s. And those shell certificates are the most important. We have other certificates which might be called the weak certificates. The weak certificate, it means it's a true certificate issued from a true universities, accredited in their countries, but it is not able to be equalized here in the country for technical matters such as residency. There are many conditions and many provisions to accept, to equalize a certificate. We have standards, as you know, to accredit or equalize. There is difference in terminologies. Unequalized, equalized, approved or accredited university, all of those terminologies, they might confuse us. The accredited university might be accredited in its own country, but it might not be accredited to me in my country. So the problem of terminology, I don't want to dive deep in the terminology, but we need to define our terminologies correctly in order for us to be on the same page. Those weak certificates are true certificates issued by true universities, but they are unequalized because of a certain standard. Someone might have a university from Cairo or Morocco, but in Oman, for example, they don't accept this university. Some people they travel 2 times only. There is a beautiful term used by Ahmed Adwaib, director of King Saud University. He said in his an article in 1980, he said the summer certificate. The summer certificate is an article issued in a Riyadh newspaper in 1980. People they go in the summer, they take a certificate from that country they travel to, and they come back with a certificate. So in the summer they take a small refrigerator, a TV, a research, anything you take with you. You go to that country, an Arab country mostly. They take a big university certificate and come back home. Universities they have talks. A university in Riyadh they have talked too bad about this article. At that time of issuing the article, hell let loose against the doctor who issued that article. They fought him really bad. But still, that article, how can I call it? We as a Bedouin we call it was the trigger for the unequalized certificates. We call it the weak. We have the fake certificate. We will not talk about it. My colleagues talked about it earlier. If it's unequalized, I should consider it one way or another fake anyway. We have the US universities, the University College in London, the Columbus University, Frankfurt International, all of those universities. It seems like we as the GCC, we love the USA's certificates, or the Western certificates in general. We tend to love them. Then after that, the exats universities. Those are a shell universities established by a Pakistani called Sheikh. He is famous somehow. He is holding universities certificates from universities all around the world, and it's easy and quick to get a certificate from exats. Those sorts of certificates, the Gulf countries are flooded with those certificates. It has promoters, sales, marketing. So as you know, the Asians in our country, there are many, and nearly everyone has one. The Indian subcontinent universities, India and Pakistan, those are dangerous people. The Indians and Pakistanis, they create too many fake certificates. In India, it's a dangerous world there. If I know an Indian man, somehow I am afraid to get near him. There are too many videos talking about the promotion of those certificates here in the UAE. It is a serious matter. Indians and Pakistani, they have lists of certificates. Arab academies and universities abroad. Our sons and daughters, when they go abroad, they establish their own universities abroad. So we can see all kinds and types of universities, such as in the Netherlands, the Arab University in Denmark, Astrolab University in Turkey. You know this word, the Astrolab it means a lot to us, the astrolabe. Also the Warais. Many of you, they do not know what Warais means. It is in our culture, it is a will in a city. So all of those names for universities abroad, and they are widespread. There are many representatives for those universities here in the Arab countries. Universities in the Arab world as well. There are many shell universities here in the Arab world. They are well known. They are listed. Maybe the most famous is in the KSA, the Open Mecca University. It has a board of directors. If you see a board of directors in any place, you really feel shy to talk to them because you know deep inside they are well educated. Many other universities are spread, similar ones, they are spread all around us. I will not tell the names, I will only talk about the Saudi Arabia because it's my country. I will not talk about Egypt because I don't want you to get upset with me. The remote universities, online universities. I think you know about them. Mr. Abul Ola talked about them and how they operate. Maybe you enter the website, you search for your certificate, you pay. The most important thing, you need a credit card to have it. So those universities, unfortunately, about the online, by the way, there are many UK universities, they have proxies. Here in the UAE, we have at least 2 offices. They facilitate the obtainment of online universities with well-known universities. So those are proxies, such as Geneva University and many others. Those are not accredited in the UK or Switzerland. So many people, they go to Switzerland, so I think the trend goes to Switzerland. There is no relationship between the Switzerland watches and universities. They are not of the same quality. Those weak certificates, you can get it by participating, and this participation issue is big. So you can participate in a country, you don't know what happens then sometimes. You can participate locally, but what happens truly there, no, we don't really know, but it is serious. Liaising offices. Some Arab universities, they have a liaising offices in the GCC. Those offices, they facilitate the processes. What the word liaising means, we don't really know. But this is also another issue we need to tackle. It is well known in some of the Sudanese countries and some Egyptian country, in Egypt. Even if you're upset with me a little bit, it's alright. I don't want to be upset. My measure is to make people upset. I'm sorry about that, but this is what happens sometimes. The success behind those certificates, the lack and absence of laws, we don't have proportionate and dissuasive penalties or sanctions. Environment was torn apart because there is no law protecting environment. So without a law, things will be destroyed. Domestic and geographic presence. Many representatives, salesmen, they exist here. When I say here, it means GCC. Those representatives, they facilitate processes and they tune, as the musician says, the process. The whole issue, this geographic reach, is another problem that needs to be tackled. domestic social support. What I mean by this, many of the stakeholders, they support those offices. So if I dealt with a university X, then I am supporting them. And this support, I'm giving them financial support. Sometimes the journalist writes about them, some celebrities, scientists talk about them. All of that is support. We have the domestic academic participation. Many of you do not know that there are professors in the Gulf country universities participate in theses submitted to fake companies. I have information about those. Those professors, they write theses. They get into discussion with those shell universities. This caused us great trouble. The Astrable University, I talked about them. I mentioned their names, everyone, and I told them that you as a professor have participated with this fake company and this is a problem, you shouldn't be doing it. 1 minute, please. We need the government to interfere with this. Also, the theses needed to be tackled, and the media, we need the media to talk about it in newspapers. The lack of supervision. We as a human, we are weak. We accept everything sometimes. How to protect ourselves? We need to protect our colleges, universities and certificates. We need to protect it. We need to protect those who are holding true certificates. We need to protect the markets. Even a simple job, the simplest job you can think of, if it needs a certificate, we need to accredit the certificate. A teller in a bank is a dangerous teller for me if he's holding a fake certificate. Protection of citizens' financial situations. So when I pay 50,000 Saudi Riyal for a certificate, this is a problem. Protecting people from being exploited from those certificates, financially and morally as well. Those people that I mentioned their names supporting those shell companies, they come to me and they said, you talked about us in person. What is meant to me, actually it's morally that I have to talk to him in person. Protecting the market again, protecting the Arab libraries from those theses and books. This is an important thing. Someone holding fake certificate publishing a book, this book will be published in the library. We need to protect the libraries from those books. Fighting the UNESCO, UK, USA and the Netherlands, all of those are laws tackling this issue. Netherlands, no one talked about Netherlands. Let me talk about it for a few. A certain broadcasting, a radio station, talked about the free university. It is an Arab university. They've talked in the radio, this is a fake university, and this free university was eliminated. The Gulf country efforts the trigger was the certificates. When spokesman's review an USA magazine, I don't know how they got the name from the Ministry of Justice in USA. They got the names of the people who obtained fake certificates. One of those holders of those certificates, many Gulf country citizens. I have the list of those names as well. I spent 8 months writing down. I did not talk with anyone. I just collected information. A collective Gulf level of cooperation. Your Excellency, your time. We need a government also efforts. A professional level represented by the professionals to have efforts in fighting fake certificates. A legislative level, we need to have a law tackling. We have the Kuwaiti law, right now they have issued it. The unequalized certificates in Kuwait. Also the equivalency system, it is with the Shura Council 7 years now. Nothing happened yet and hopefully it will be issued. What is our situation will be? The unequalized certificates need to stop on the governmental, professional and on the community level. I gathered more than 500 articles on a book talking about fake certificates, an article or two written by Mr. Khalil. It is your articles in the book as well. 500 articles, it's too much. I don't think there is any field having too many articles written about, such as this one. I see that we need to be like Kuwait. Each country needs to do the same, need to have a law protecting us from this scourge, as Mr. Suwaidi called it. If we don't eliminate it, it will eliminate us. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Muwafaq Arweli. Doctor, thank you. Doctor, you have talked about the summer certificates, takeaway certificates, let's call them. Take one, get one free. Too many certificates. If you can talk to us. I talked with, in the break, I talked with the doctor. He told me you still, little did you know. What did you mean by little did you know? Well, the little did you know is the names. The only thing I hid from you is the names of those holders of certificates. Names and pictures, just for documentation. The parties they thrown, they took very big holes, bigger than this one, with all due respect, and they thrown a party for the graduation party, they called it. Universities they use to issue lists with the names of their graduates to attract more people. And those lists, when I tweeted about it, those lists are hidden, but I have them. This list is kept with the Shura Council in KSA. I beg your indulgence, ladies and gentlemen, but now we will move to our next speaker, His Eminence Mr. Ali Al Sayed Al Hashim, the advisor for religious and judicial affairs at the Ministry of Presidential Affairs in the United Arab Emirates. He will talk to us from the point of view of the Sharia. By the name of God we start. Praise be on the Prophet and his fellow companions. Assalamu alaikum. It is better for us to start by thanking Professor Jamal Suwaidi, the General Director for Emirates Center for Strategic studies in particular, and then thanking everyone else involved. At the same time, I would like to thank His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince, praying for His Excellency, for His Highness, and you, for all the success, well-being, and protection of the Lord. The topic, the scourge of fake academic degrees. I pray the Lord I get the success to give the point of view of Al-Sharia, or the Islamic point of view of it. Fraud or fake in the point of view of Al-Sharia, the Islamic Sharia. If the faking something, faking anything is prohibited in Islam, so how do you think about professional matters? Because it leads to lie. Lying, though, takes many aspects, serious and dangerous aspects, to individuals and countries. It threatens sciences and knowledge in general. It also diverts our lifestyles, and it puts it to danger and doom. You might trust, some of us might trust, those certificates, thinking that the holder of this certificate makes that holder of it qualified to the job. Then they get shocked that this holder of that certificate knows nothing about his certificate, knows nothing about his job, whether the job is religious or practice. The fake certificates, aside from being a lie, it includes some sort of disguising the reality, a desecration of its holder. So whomever holding that certificate, he knows nothing about it and he is not qualified to hold on it. The relevant agencies and authorities, sometimes they are fooled by the certificate. Forging a certificate, it means that somebody holds a certain specific certificate without knowing anything about that specific field mentioned in it. And the link between the holder and the certificate is weak. So the father might be a doctor or an advisor, but the son is not like the father in this case. So the son in this case misguides others by holding that certificate with whatever he does, whether it's a legitimate national medicine engineer or any other job that he might possess based on that certificate. Cheating and faking certificates includes, aside lying, the betrayal. As our Prophet said, betrayal and lying do not exist in the heart of a Muslim or a believer. So betrayal is more severe than lying. Therefore, it is a mean to an end, a bad mean to a bad end. Faking scientific certificate, as per the definition, as my colleagues before me have talked earlier, it represents itself in two things. First, scientific fake, and the faking in this case is faking a scientific certificate decorated with sentences saying that this person, the holder of the certificate, is qualified. to practice. In reality, so sometimes the person holding that fake certificate might really know what he is doing, but still it is fake certificate, and it tells a lie to others that this person is a scientist, but in reality he's just as fake as his certificates. This desecration, cheat, and lying, unless it is known to the public, it will be like the fire, will get bigger and bigger each time we feed it. So we need to expose those people and the truth about their fake certificates. It shall be a Sharia liability and obligation. We need to penalize and criminalize whomever fakes a certificate as per Islamic Sharia to preserve our society. Scientific thefts. This type of scientific fake represents itself by somebody steals an article or a scholar or a thesis. This person might not know how to read correctly, but they steal it, and it's some sort of plagiarism, stealing the efforts of others, accrediting it to himself, putting his name to that article, and it appears to everyone that this person has written this material, but in reality it is just a theft. And he can fool others that he is smart, but in reality he's a fraudulent person, a liar. And perhaps theft, plagiarism might happen within a distinguished institution, so that thief might get away with that stealing of that material, and he can obtain a master's degree or a PhD due to that theft he made. So the only way to discover the person who faked that certificate is when he speaks. So when he speaks, we can tell he's not a scientist, he's just a thief and a liar. Scientific thefts. Faking certificate takes many ways and aspects. So the faking takes place in the form of stealing the whole book. They changed the name of the editor of that book. Even the one who faked the document might forgot the name of the auditor of that book, thinking that by changing the name of the real author, that means the book is his solely. So whomever dares to fake a document, they do not have the sanity, they do not have the morals or ethics to pay attention to what he's done. So they just fake it. And this is the very way they are exposed to others. This is the very thing that exposes him and tells us he's a liar and a thief. Fake might happen in a partial thief. We can call it scientific lying. The forger here might not steal the whole book, but they take particular number of pages to complete what they have already written without quoting or putting a reference to the original author. So in many cases, it might be a couple of pages stolen, but little or too many, it is the same. It is theft. So they need to quote and put a reference and source. They need to be trustworthy in quoting. They don't need to lie to others and themselves. Thus, this person who quoted without putting reference, this person is similar to the thief, and he must be dealt with as the thief. If a person wants to steal an egg, then he is capable of stealing something bigger than an egg in the future. Ali ibn Abi Talib has said, while we were sitting with the prophets one day, a man came to us and he said, "Dear Prophet, tell me about the lenient thing in Islam and the most severe thing." The Prophet said, "The most lenient thing in our religion is to say that you witness that Allah is the Lord and that Muhammad is the Prophet. And the most severe thing in Islam is trust." So there is no religion to someone you cannot trust. The word trust, it is diverted from belief in our language, and belief is the trust of God to us as a human. So God gave trust to earth, to trees and mountains. But mountains said, "No, we will not carry trust because it's heavy." But we as a human, we took trust. So trust means something really sacred to us. Trust as well is something given to us by God. So whomever does not respect trust, then they betray religion itself. And whomever commits cheating, lying, and faking, therefore they betrayed trust. So trust is a virtue we need not to look away from. We need to follow it. Trust is something difficult. It's not easy to carry trust. And our prophets said that if a person has no trust, then that person, even if he prays, goes to pilgrimage, or donate money, all of that is gone with the wind. The Prophet did not say a speech without mentioning trust. So the Prophet's words were always mentioning trust and tackling trust. There is another form of faking, which is a scientific lying. It might not be by partial thefts. It is changing the idea that they stole, changing the terminologies, then referring it to oneself, showing that he really worked hard to write that thesis or article. But in reality, no. They just changed the words. And this type of lying is considered plagiarism as well. It might not be focused on a lot, this topic, but still it has a very disgusting type of scientific theft. It's still betraying trust. It is lying and cheating. And therefore it is obligatory that this person does this, needs to be penalized, criminalized. About the effects from this faking, it might lead to loss of lives, loss of money. Therefore, we need to find a penalty that is proportionate to the act conducted. Lying and faking in scientific research might lead to damaging lives. So the one who faked the certificate might fake a medical certificate and might give the wrong medicine to a patient, which will lead to his death. So therefore, faking a certificate might lead to death. Also in engineering, if it's a fake certificate, the building will not be well constructed. The building will fall on the heads of its residents, and many victims will pass away from that poorly constructed building. Also, those holding a fake certificate in medicine, for example, then that person might start fiddling a woman, for example, with the excuse that he is a doctor and he's checking up on her, but leading to harassing that woman. So this person who faked the certificate must be put and penalized dissuasively. Faking scientific certificates might lead to the loss of money. So a certain institution might bankrupt because of its employees holding many fake certificates. Penalty then in sanctioning those holding fake certificates, it might take different forms. I just have 2 minutes left. We need to expose and label those who fake the certificates. They need to be told to the public. The media needs to talk about this. So we need to label everyone holding a fake certificate. The Islamic Sharia says about exposing and labeling those person is allowed in the Sharia. It is in the protection of the public good and public interest. Imam Qirafi, one of these Islamic scientists, talked about this. Ibn Taymiyyah talked about this as well, and they've said that it is permissible to label and expose the fake certificate holders to the public to protect Islam, to protect society, to protect everyone else. So sanctions must be looking into in 1 minute. First, we have two types of scientific jurisprudence. We have first the killing or murdering, and killing here is society. So the fake certificate holder might be a doctor, as we said, and therefore he can kill many people. So we need to fight them, and fighting them might be in the form of a capital sentence or death. If it is not by capital sentence or death sentence, it might be by putting a dissuasive sanctions, such as labeling them, exposing them to the public, and this is a second degree of penalizing them. So the judge, the fair judge, might give the proportionate sanction upon whomever commits a crime. Many legislations talked about the effects of a certain crimes, and the legislator decided a fine and imprisonment, then confiscating the fake document and fake tools used to write that fake document. Also imprisoning the actor proportionately with the act. The financial sanction, it is written, it is based on Berne Agreement or Convention, and many other conventions talked about the financial fines must be put on those who fake. There is also the patent, which is a point of interest in the UAE. And Al-Shura Surah talked about the leveling of people. I think this is it for me now. We might say in conclusion, scientific theft is lying to God himself before lying to society, and the actor must be severely punished. And by that, we need to remove anyone holding any position based on a fake certificate. References and sources, it needs a long time to talk about. We talk about Bukhari, we talk about Muslim. Any word told about the Prophet, it has a reference, a very detailed reference. Therefore, references and quotations are a sensitive matter, but it needs a long time to talk about. So with that, thank you very much for listening. Peace be upon you. Thank you very much, Your Eminence, Sayyid Ali Al-Hashim. Thank you, Your Eminence, for those words. Your Eminence, you talked a lot about sanctions and dissuasive sanctions in Islamic Sharia against this crime. I might quote our Prophet saying, it's mentioned in Bukhari and Muslim, the Prophet said, whomever raise a weapon against us is not one of us. Whomever cheat us is not one of us. So this crime is really hideous. The Prophet said it is like holding a gun or a weapon. There is another saying for that. It says whomever cheats in general, not just us as Muslims, but whomever cheats is not one of us. So the Islamic Sharia, paying detail to the integrity and dignity of a human, therefore it prohibited cheating. Thank you very much again to talk about this topic. And now, if I may, we will be with His Excellency Dr. Hassan Ubaid al-Mahari to talk to us about the steps the UAE taken with regards to fake certificates. Dr. Hassan, please.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. As a start, I want to thank the professor for his host, and I would like to thank the organizers to this great topic. I will do my best to take on brief and give floor to questions. In the beginning, and in order to demonstrate the UAE's steps, in particular the Ministry of Education, I remember today we have a higher education strategy, 2030 strategy, and one pillar of those strategy is about quality. Under quality pillar we can find the academic trust and integrity. Thank you, Your Eminence, because you gave us a Sharia opinion about this regarding the trust. So trust means the academic trust. Under the academic trust we have the academic betrayal or plagiarism maybe. And we have sub-articles to that. I can mention from using and faking data. such as certificates. And as you all know, other activities could be faked, such as cheating, presenting fake certificates, plagiarism, etc. Many things. So obtaining a fake certificate from a shell company or a shell institution falls under betrayal of trust. And it's very important for us today in the UAE and worldwide. Academic integrity is something important. All higher education institutions need to pay more attention by putting in place initiatives or by even establishing departments related to academic integrity to investigate the fake certificates. About the Ministry of Education's work regarding fighting fake certificates and certificates from fake universities, as my colleagues have mentioned before, we as other countries have services we present under the equivalency of certificates. So when we do the equivalency of certificate, we have an accreditation step. We accredit those certificates, we make sure that this certificate is true, and therefore we equalize it as per our own law. For the first procedure we do when we do the equivalency of certificate is ensuring the truthfulness of the university this certificate was issued from. And as my colleagues have said, we need to ensure that that university, if it is true university, we need to make sure that this university is accredited in that country. We look into it with details. We exchange information with too many agencies around the world, whether in neighboring countries or worldwide. So we do very strict procedure to follow the truthfulness of the university. We also follow a diplomatic channels to make sure that those certificates are true. We ask those diplomatic channels to make sure that that university, is it true or not, is it accredited or not. After that, we check, is this certificate accredited and approved or not. This could be done by having a disclosure or a non-disclosure letter from the holder of this certificate itself. Most higher education institutions, when they disclose information about any holder of a certificate, they request such a letter from us. So the holder of the certificate disclosing and giving the intention or the powers to the Ministry of Education to get the information about him from his home country or his home university. Therefore, this process allows us to check the truthfulness of the university, the certificate, as I said, and if there is any additional information that we need, what is the nature of study, what is the period of study, and other information that might help us with the equivalency process. After that, we apply other standards and criteria related to the equivalency. Some of those measures or procedures are internationally recognized, and some others are only limited to the UAE, because we have certain standards we require to the equivalency of certificates. We have certain criteria applied to higher education. So, as I said, the importance of the truthfulness of a certificate once equalized is an important thing. In some cases, this equivalency might take a lengthy time sometimes, and in some other times we cooperate with other countries to rapidly coordinate the process electronically or in easier ways. And we thank goodness we've come so far right now from a transforming fully electronic in the process. In addition to this lengthy process that I mentioned, to ensure the truthfulness of certificate for equivalency, this certificate, once proved true and not fake, the Ministry of Education does another initiatives to help increasing the academic integrity, such as public awareness about the importance of obtaining certificates from accredited, well-known universities, and increase awareness about or with regards to academic integrity in general. In addition, we have a parallel service we provide as a Ministry of Education. It is the inquiry service. Inquiry service, in brief, it provides the customer or the certificate holder, if they desire to study abroad, before studying, they come to approach us and ask about that university they desire to study in. Is it accredited or not? And is the major he will study there is accredited in the UAE or not? So we write a letter to tell the customer to abide by the conditions that we have, terms and conditions, and once he finishes studying abroad, they will come to us to do the equivalency and make sure that the equivalency process will be done smooth. Also, we cooperate closely with
الجهات الأكاديمية كان طبعا
academic institutions, higher education institutions inside the country and around the world, in addition to contacting with similar universities around the world to exchange experiences in fighting fake documents issued from fake universities sometimes. And as for the numbers right now, the Ministry of Education nearly receives more than 15,000 requests for equivalency annually, with an increase 10% annually. That means this service is an important service for customers here in the UAE, and many customers, they use the outcome or the letter of equivalency even in getting a job in employment in general in UAE, or to complete their studying inside or outside the country.
يعني يجدر القول أن
It is worth noting that of those certificates giving to the accreditation department, if those certificates are fake, it actually represents 1% of the 15,000 certificates, and the sanction in this case, or the process in this case, the relevant person of that certificate or the holder of it, once they see that they need to provide complete information about themselves and having a no objection letter from the university he wants to study in, this whole procedure might hinder that person from coming to us to get the equivalency, and they might be afraid to come to approach us for equivalency. This might lead to not submitting his documents. Also, the certificates from fake or false, the shell universities, are low number as well.
طبعا بالنسبة للخطوات المستقبلية اللي تنظر فيها دولة
For the future steps followed by the UAE and the Ministry of Education, is to expand awareness greatly as much as possible. Also, the implementation regarding the equivalency application. The equivalency application, the Ministry of Education is responsible for the education sector, and we are responsible for general and higher education institutions. So it's important to look and scrutinize the employees and make sure they are holding the proper certificates. In order for us to know more about the employers and what are the basic information for employment, even before joining their employees. So today, thank goodness, we have too many information. Shell companies or institutions, their names are online available there. So the HR personnel in any company, there is nothing stopping them from going online, holding the CV of a certain recruit, and double check the information in that CV. Are they correct or not? Are those references of false or shell institutions? So the HR personnel can do it sometimes. And the HR as well, if they do not have complete clarity about this process, the equivalency process is there for them to get to know. Also, on an ongoing basis, we are looking to enhance and develop our processes of equivalency to make it more easy and make it smoother for the customers. And this eases the linkage between us and the employer, so we can render our services within timely manner. Because sometimes the employer gives the employee a certain timeline to get the equivalency. The ministry as well, in coordination with leadership institutions, we conduct continuous researches on different phenomena, and we raise legislative tools sometimes.
وأتوقع أن يمكن
And we might look into further legislative tools in the future that might help in shaping a law, a specific law of the country. We do some researches with neighboring countries such as the GCC countries. In the GCC, Dr. Khamis here represents the GCC Quality Network in higher education. In addition, we have, under the umbrella of the GCC, we have a joint committee represented by the accreditation department heads, such as those participations in joint committees. It gives us as a country and a neighboring country, gives us expertise and gives us more information. The latest legislation or the latest law in Al Kuwait about criminalizing fake certificates. Today we are exchanging information with Al Kuwait to look, is it able to implement the same here in the country or not? I think I would conclude with scientific or academic integrity. Academic integrity should not be limited to education. It should be spread and extended to community and country as a whole, because it affects all sectors. Because as you might know, a person faking a certificate is a person without integrity, and therefore it will affect his lifestyle and career, and it might harm others. So integrity is an important thing. Betraying academy trust as well is a matter. So it is important, really important, we as a ministry to do this job on an ongoing basis, to cooperate and coordinate with the community and with the institutions. And here and today with the Emirates Center for Strategic Study and Research, we thank you dearly for looking into this problem, trying to tackle it to increase the quality of education and higher education. With that, thank you very much.
جزيل الشكر لسعادة.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Dr. Hassan. We are also thanking you. With the instructions of Professor Sanad, we have a program of the equivalency for the newcomers. Even before interviewing them here at the EM SSC, we accredit and we approve their certificates before employing them. You talked about the equivalency and the lengthy processes. This might be a question of us. Why not all authorities around the country do the equivalency? Some of the agencies, they recruit and they do everything, but they do not do the equivalency. Why don't they? Right now, all government agencies, they are responsible for having equivalency of certificates before bringing new employees. And most of local agencies are doing the same. And as I said, in education sector, we are applying this on the local education, local institutions. In addition, many other institutions, they do this autonomously. It might be important in cooperation with the relevant agencies in other sectors. We might need a law to allow them to conduct the equivalency. So we need something to be obligatory and not optional. Is it not obligatory now? In many private sector institutions, it is not obligatory, no. But I think many of the big institutions in the UAE, they do this autonomously by requesting the employee to get equivalency of certificates, or they do it themselves. If that person is being employed in a very important or a sensitive role, if that company overlooked this requirement as a simple thing, no, it is not a simple thing. If they overlooked it, I think we will have problem here. I think today we are sending and circulating letters and circulars about this and about the importance of equivalency of certificates. We are working on increasing awareness. As I mentioned, it is not just a matter of equivalency, but it might be a problem of the institution itself. The company itself have the right to inquire and require the equivalency. They need to make sure that this certificate is not fake. This might explain the low percentage or the low number of cases that you see, because not all certificates are equalized, and there is no obligation on the private sector to do the equivalency of certificates. So this is a trouble, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe you have multiple questions. If you have a question, please make it as brief as possible.
تفضل.
يا اخوان قضية المعادلة قضية.
Equivalency of certificate is a sensitive matter, yes. This is a sovereign matter. The UAE has a sovereignty on the UAE citizens' certificates only, right? And it does not equalize the foreigners' certificates. Every person should do an equivalency of certificate in their home country before coming here. So there are sensitive matters. Many people are not aware of it. We have authorities and powers This equivalency matter. The Kuwaiti people, they've been in this problem. They didn't want to do equivalency for all certificates. This can't be done. The only equivalency of certificate to be done in the Kuwait is only for the Kuwaiti citizen, not for the foreigners. The foreigners should equalize their certificate from that home country. The law says the domestic certificate is accredited, is approved. The Kuwaiti authorities, they want to give equivalency of certificate for their own universities. This is a problem. There is a problem with the terminologies used. There is a problem with understanding those terminologies and processes. Even in a there are many Arab countries. The equivalency matter is something up to the country to decide. It is an argumental matter. Actually, it is a theoretical debate, but in many cases, once the person is employed, he presents his certificate, you bring a master's degree, you are promoted, and there is no equivalency of certificates. So this is the trouble. A doctor or an engineer, they have a certificate. And they take a certificate, for example, in project management. This project management certificate is fake. So how can they be a project manager? They can be. If I may, please. Thank you, Doctor. Yes, it is important to clarify one thing. In comparison with other neighbored country in the UAE, the equivalency of certificate is applicable to everyone. What that means, if he is an employee, some authorities require the equivalency regardless of the nationality of the employee. We equalize certificates regardless of the nationality, whether he is a citizen or a foreigner, and the process is the same. So if he is a citizen in a foreign country, we do the equivalently the same as we do with a foreigner. If it is inapplicable to give the equivalency, we reject the application. We have a question there, please. Please tell us who you are before you speak.
خليل علي حيدر.
Khalil Ali Haidar, Al Kuwait. I am a writer in the newspapers. I used to write in Al Watan newspapers. In fact, thank you very much, Emirates Center, for making available this opportunity to all of us. I read the title, The Scourge of Fake Academic. It is not just a scourge, it is a disaster. This threatens the reputation of academic institutions in the Arab world. Education is the basis to our development. You can look at Japan, Singapore, North Korea. They used education to grow and to develop. So we all expect the same to happen to us. We expect education to be the step forward for us. So right now we are facing a disaster, a scourge. This will make us busy. It will somehow detour us from the track. So for example, I wanted a surgery in the past. I was scared of the surgery itself, but now I'm scared of the surgery, and the doctor himself is qualified. The information given by my colleagues, they are very, very good, informative. I did not know the spectrum. It is too big. countries such as the Philippines, Thailand, how do they tackle this problem if they are the source of those fake certificates? So the cure was given by my colleagues. They given many remedies, but still we need a political decision. The Gulf countries, Arab countries, they need to have a political decision to tackle this problem and fight it. If we leave it up to the Ministry of Education only, if we leave it up to scholars or media, this would not do us any good because it will be limited action only. So we need the government to deal with it. Thank you. Thank you. Excuse us, but we need to give opportunity to others to participate. I have many points actually. Assalamu alaikum. Muhammad al-Muhaysin. It is a scourge indeed. What is more dangerous than fake academic degree is the lack of political decision, the government institutions in fighting this. It is very clear to all of us. If we talk about an individual, single individual, talked about this, he torn things apart. NKSA, the summer certificate, as my colleague said. Yes, this was a problem. The Minister of Education did a research and they put a requirements for master's degree and PhD. So the minimum requirements for an employee, this employee needs to have at least 3 years experience from his home country before coming to us. But it was a surprise. He found that there is 6 education directors. 6 education directors. All of them holding summer certificates. So I think the evil is from within in that case. When he checked their certificates, the certificate was faked. And then he said, we will take the doctor title before their names, but leaving them at their position. They were not fired. If you said cheat us, you none of us, this is fake, this is fraudulent act, those words are only words. But we need to have actions. We need to face on the first page of each newspapers names of people. Dr. X, Dr. Y. They are being imprisoned because they have fake certificate. I like the example where my colleague, where His Eminence says murdering those doing the fake. In poetry says there is a dispute, but we have the solution. In the Gulf countries in particular, many officials hold fake certificates. So we see many politicians say it is necessary to fight it. Yes, it is necessary to them because they are fake as well. Each country, each Gulf country need to donate 100 million and establish a supervisory authority dedicated to eradicate those academic degrees. Within 2 years, I promise you, we will eliminate this phenomena once and for all. If we find an official, fake official, we don't need just to fire him, we need to put him in jail. That's what needs to be done. Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
الأخ نعم تفضل.
Thank you very much for a topic that is very important. We understood many things more clearly. We know how big is the spectrum of this phenomena now, somehow. I was a member of the accreditation department for 11 years here in UAE. I would like to say, Dr. Jamal Sanad, Professor Jamal, you have brought up a topic that is need to be talked about. You are the first here to insist that everyone here at this center needs to have an equivalency of certificates. All employees working at this center here and today, they have equivalency of certificates. I would like to say, in between 1990 and 1995, and the Ministry of Education, when the Minister Ali Asharhan was there, 160 employees of the staff of the ministry, suddenly they took a PhD certificate from Indiana University. It was a shell university. So 160 suddenly having a PhD certificate, that was something strange. Many English teachers, they used to give English lessons without holding an English teaching certificates, without even talking English. But today, the country is aware of it. Too many of the country's institutions have requirements for studying abroad, have requirements for accreditation as well. Thank you. Thank you. The Director General article about the fake certificates, it had a great impact. Even in judiciary, we have many articles about that, and there must be penalties. We need, indeed, a legislation, a law, to tackling this. Any other questions?
عفوا تفضل. هو بعدك تفضل.
السلام عليكم.
Just a simple remark. Too many thieves and too many people plagiarizing. We do not say that we need to hold them accountable, because they are wildly spread, and I think they are more than the mafias. But what we require to be done today, scientists and true doctors, they are being accused to be faked, but they are true. So we need to protect those people. We need to protect their reputation. That's my remark. Undoubtedly, yes. Each crime needs to be held accountable. When I am accountable, I cannot talk without His Eminence permission. Your Eminence, please. Those criminals are being accused of faking certificates. Should they be punished? I mentioned earlier, in the Islamic Sharia, those people should be punished proportionately. So, for example, if someone said that he has a doctor or certificate in medicine, if that person started practicing the medicine, if he started practicing his profession as a doctor, he needs to be punished, yes. 1 year ago, the Ministry of Justice, back in 1973, used to issue a magazine under the name of Justice. We talked about the mispractice of doctors. The mispractice here, I mean the non-intentional ones. We all are subject to error, but if whomever practicing medicine based on a fake medicine certificate, he needs to be held accountable, he needs to be accused and punished. And even the authority that issued that certificate, they need to be accountable as well, because as I said, every one of us should be responsible. So if you give a knife to a murderer, you are an accomplice of murder. So you need to be punished as well, the same. So here, accountability in Islamic al-Sharia is not just general matter. No, it is a specific and it has provisions. Thank you. Hassan Al-Amir. I'm working on social media. As a start, thank you, Dr. Professor Jamal Al-Suwaidi, for giving us the chance to attend and hear those beautiful words about this important topic. In 2010, I can reminisce a doctor, medicine doctor doing surgeries was arrested because of holding fake certificates. In the public prosecution, during the investigation, they found out that the surgery equipment were kitchen utensils. The UAE sent an alarm to all students studying abroad. Any fake certificate shall be punished dissuasively. This alarm was circulated, but unfortunately, there were no sufficient awareness by the Ministry of Education and some other authorities about the seriousness of fake certificates. This indeed itself is dangerous. If we can find bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD, each certificate issued in 1 year, he is a superman, he's not human. And we can find those people, they work in government, not just in private sector. I wish to see someone from the Emiratization Department, Ministry of Emiratization, to talk to us about the requirements of employment contracts. Thank you very much. Your Excellency Khamis, use the mic please.
شكرا. بس أنا من ناحية
From when talking about putting in place a law, to put an end to this, we need to have a law, dissuasive law, proportionate, comprehensive, covering all gaps. From listening to those remarks and comments by the attendants, as I saw, from what I saw and hear, the law is the referee to put an end to this phenomena, but still, would this law be applicable to those already faked their documents? To those holding positions now? So if we issue the law, would it cover those people who did this in the past? Approximately, I might say, let bygones be bygones. You have fake certificate, just go away without punishment. We need to know this. But still, there is a saying in English, it goes like, work smarter, not harder. Sometimes we need to implement and enforce something. Today, tomorrow, we need to enforce it. But how can we lead a horse to a water? We can sacrifice or punish that holder of fake certificate, fearing society or fearing for his reputation, being in jail, etc. Or the law might have some sort of flexibility in it. Then afterwards it will be applicable on everyone, and as of a certain date, for example, as of issuance of that law, anyone faking a document will be punished and let bygones be bygones. But I will direct a question to the panelists here. How can we make balance smarter and not harder? The panelists? I did not hear the last question. His Excellency Khamis asking, if we implement a law, we have too many cases that happened in the past. If we implement this law, do we exempt those who already faked documents in the past, or we cover them as well and deal with them? And we implement the law and cover them. There is a famous rule that says if you cannot cover all, don't leave it all. Mecca was not built in one day. If there is a project, we put this project to multiple members to take opinion. You have many projects and initiatives, big ones. Do what you can do, and what you can do, you can do later on in the future. This is my opinion. About laws, I see personally, why do we have laws? Laws are here to protect society. If a person is influential in the society, being faking certificates, or he is a victim to theft, but theft is something else. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is something that is widely spread. It is a whole world. Even in Jordan, they have a scholar study and research about those plagiarism. We have people specialized in plagiarism. They are professionals in stealing information. But let's go back to certificates again. Personally, I think we give people a chance. We give them a chance to repent themselves. But there is an obligation. They need to confess that they have a fake certificate. If they don't confess, this is something else. I've met too many people. The American University in London, man, this university is a bad entity. Even the BBC interviewer called them, with all due respect, there is a dog holding a certificate, a dog, homeless dog. The Western, they love dogs, but it was a dog holding a university. The dog has an MBA, he's a business dog. With all of that up to date, many people, they say we are doctors from that university. This is not a university. It spreaded bad things. About only lawyers, I will talk only about lawyers. More than 2,000 lawyers and paralegals have their certificates from this university. This certificate for the dog, is it about loyalty? And with that, on behalf of Professor Dr. Jamal Sanad Swedi, Director General of Emirates Center, I would like to thank the guests and thank you. And shall we meet later on? Have a good day. Thank you, everyone. And in the end, again, on behalf of Professor Jamal Sanad Swedi, General Director of Emirates Center for Strategic Study and Research, I would like to thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.